Hello everybody, this week's scenario is Breakdown. It includes killbots, 2 circular zones that can be stored by warcasters, warlocks, and units, 1 rectangular zone that can be stored by warcasters, warlocks, warjacks, warbeasts, and battle engines. Victory conditions consist of ending a turn with 5 more control points than your opponent, or by assassination.
Okay guys, for this battle I dropped the Wanderer and Dark Menagerie. The battle group is 3 Skin and Moans, 1 Cage Rager, 1 Gorehound, a full unit of Kravitz, 1 Death Knell, 2 min unit of Dreadrots, 4 Gremlin Swarms for free, and Lady K. The caster is really aggressive, so you can kind of get up there, drop Star Cross, drop cover, and you know, leave up feet to dodge any assassinations.
Hey guys, it's GG Will. Just wanted to try out Bradidus this game and see what all the rage was about. I brought a pretty standard Bradidus list. It turned out to be a lot of fun. I played Bradidus Thorol, 2 Wold Guardians, 3 Wold Wardens, a Wold Watcher, 2 Wold Whites, and support. It actually ended up being about 74 points I think, but a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Highly suggest it. Hope you guys enjoy.
Okay, so I get to deploy first here. I split the 2 units of Dreadrots. They're pretty much my only source of getting, you know, soul tokens against constructs. That was going to be my biggest issue, I thought. So I wanted to spread them out and kind of keep my battle group tight. But I think I lost that after the first turn, as you'll see. So, but everything else it's a pretty close group deployment. No advanced deploy.
So during my deployment, I wanted to keep everything kind of central. So I sat 2 Wardens to the left, a Guardian to either side of Bradidus, and a Warden to the right. I ended up placing a Wold White to either flank to help deal with my opponent's infantry. They have tough. Being able to catch those things on fire once they've done a tough check and kill them automatically the next turn was something that would be really nice. And then I set up my Wold Watcher to the left so he could sit behind the forest and take some blows with Stoneform. The rest of my support I just kind of set up behind my front lines and got them ready to support those beasts.
Okay, so before my turn 1, I had to choose my Arcanas. Wanderer has Divergent Path, Sacrifice, and the Shadow. Sacrifice is good when almost in any Dark Menagerie theme force. You're going to have a heavy or big battle group. Killing 1, healing all is very good. The Shadow, the Wanderer's got a good command range, 8 inches. So dropping a heavy within 8 inches, you know, dropping a Cage Rager and just going to town on something. I mean, it's a free trade most of the time. Gremlin Swarms aren't really going to do much this game. They'll probably just contest zones, which they're good at. Dreadrots are going to get run up. They need to be up there. Easy targets, trying to get those corpse tokens going. Against constructs, I don't really have any other options of getting them, so I'm really hoping for them to get just kind of wiped out in the beginning. So I'm going to run them a full 10 inches. I think I moved the battle engine in a weird spot here. It got kind of jammed up in between the water and the building there. But it's alright, it's no big deal. I think we're gonna full advance both or all 4 sets of Gremlin Swarms. Full advance the 2nd unit of Dreadrots. Like I said, we need targets. Even though this unit's out of range, it's still a good way to keep your opponent, you know, he doesn't know what I'm doing with those. So you know what I mean? If I move the Dreadrots right, the next turn I can move the Battle Engine up and kind of get in the aura. Because I don't think I'm worried about him hitting anything right off gate. I just need them to get as far up the board as possible early. Same with all the War Beasts, they don't really do much here. When you're playing a Wanderer list, your threat ranges are pretty crazy. With Flare and, you know, dropping an AoE that you can run through, nothing's pretty impossible with this. So we're gonna run both Skin and Bones, run Cage Rager, which is very slow. I think I run the other Skin and Bones. Kravitz do not much. We're gonna put the Wanderer probably right behind the building. Drop Fog of War, drop Starcross just to be safe. And then at the end of turn we can lay our markers out to where we can just advance him a little bit more at the start of our next turn, which is really good. I think the markers are probably one of the best things about him. But it's a pretty simple turn one. Just push everything forward and hope some Dreadrots die, and if they don't, they don't. We can always do it next turn.
So this turn I just kind of spend my time trying to unpack my army while mitigating any possibility for losses. Looking at my opponent's side of the board, there wasn't a whole lot that I was super worried about hitting me next turn. We have the forest in the center, the forest to the left on the zone, and you know the rough terrain to the right. It just doesn't hinder me, but it hinders some of his stuff. I think about trying to go after the Doorhound early on, but you know, sadly he put up Fog of War with the Wanderer, and I can't really shoot him with any of the spells that I would like to shoot him with the Wold Warden. So that is not to be. My opponent just kind of played that well, made sure I wasn't going to be able to take out a piece early on. So you saw me just a second ago. I was measuring out the threat ranges of his little pumpkin head guys. They're not that scary if they can't reach you, but once they reach you, if I remember correctly, they're weapon masters, which I wasn't looking to lose pieces early on due to simple mistakes of moving my models too far ahead. So I just kind of wanted to measure that out and make sure I wasn't just going to feed my opponent a piece that was important to my army that could play a big role later on. So here you see me unpacking my stones, so I'm trying to be as careful as I can to make sure that, again, I'm not going to just feed them a stone. Just want to make sure that I keep them hidden and things aren't going to be able to charge them. Unpacking the other unit, check the pumpkin heads there, make sure I'm not feeding them models. Yeah, and here I'm just, like I said, I'm unpacking these models. There's not a whole lot of taunting to be done. I kind of want to set up the Wold Guardians in a position where they can be teleported next turn. Being speed 4, they're not that great. Even when they're charging, they're speed 4, charge for 7 inches, threaten 8 inches. Being able to get some extra distance on that just because of a free teleport isn't a bad thing. And then on top of that, Bradidus being able to feat after they're teleported gives you some actual real threat range for those guys that people aren't going to expect, which is really cool. So really enjoy the stones in this list and what they kind of bring to the table and offer those World Guardians in terms of some movement shenanigans. Otherwise, I don't really care for the stones all that much. I think they used to be really good and maybe too good, so they've been backed off a lot, and it's definitely brought them down a peg. So you see me move the World Wardens down in the bottom left, kind of stack them up, just making sure that they're not going to get charged and hoping that they can pop off some spells the next turn, maybe charge a heavy or something, but more than likely they're probably just going to try to help deal with those pumpkin heads and just kill those guys so that I don't have to worry about those weapon masters. And then I move the World Warden up in the top on the right flank. I keep him in the stones because I didn't know if maybe like something would happen where I didn't need to teleport the World Guardian and he wasn't going to be a big player for the next turn, or something more advantageous would pop up. So I kind of put him in there in the stones just in case, so I had multiple teleport targets for that unit just to try and give myself options. Bradidus moves up and we are going to cast Synergy, move up the solos, make sure that I have all the fury that I need, and then move up my last solo here, the Wayfarer, and that's it.
Okay, so my turn 2 was I think where I went wrong with this army. I played a little bit too defensively when the Wanderer is definitely an offensive caster that has good defensive spells. I saw my opponent move 2 big heavies into the center of those teleporting stones, and I got a little nervous of that. Even though I know at any time I can just pop Divergent Path and get away from it. But sometimes it just gets in your head in the middle of a turn that my opponent's trying to do this. Let me do everything I can to stop it. So I made sure to kill one of those stones. I also moved up the Dreadrots. The Gremlin Swarms really are just gonna kind of move around. The annoyance doesn't really do anything, but placing them there to where they can't move their models to a certain spot was kind of okay. None of my War Beasts are really going to get to him this turn. I don't think I wanted to trade any War Beasts right now either, so I was okay with that. Synergy, I definitely slept on. I was thinking Starcross was going to be good enough, but it just... Once he got his Synergy up, Starcross didn't do what Starcross usually does, which is fine. I mean, that was definitely a good counterplay. I just thought defense 13 heavies under Starcross were going to survive or still be good. I moved these Dreadrots up here to kill something. I killed that little stone. I moved them a little bit too far because after I moved my battle engine, they're out of the corpse sucking range, and that's a big issue right now. Is my heavies are good, but they need to be better with corpses. And the battle engine is really the only way to make that happen. So I probably should have paid a little bit more attention to that. I put Cage Rager up there. He's not really doing anything. Gremlin Swarms, like I said, I moved them to where he can't move to certain spots. It was a pretty basic turn. I killed the one stone, and I was pretty happy with that because I still had so many defensive spells up. But I should have been a little bit more aggressive.
So I'm looking at my opponent's side of the board this turn, and man, are there a lot of targets. He, to my surprise, he ran both units of pumpkinheads in to engage. He just ran them straight forward, engaged my stuff, and kind of tied me up. Early on, I thought maybe there was a chance for assassination here. I actually had to cut a lot of that out of the video here, but now I spent a good few minutes kind of talking it over with my opponent, and we decide that it's not really to be. It's not really going to happen because it involves pushing my World Wardens forward with feet, prodding synergy off my other models first, and then hitting his caster, who then could just pop one of his mini feats, or whatever you want to call them, the Arcana, and moving his caster, transferring the damage, and moving his caster away. So to one of his road markers. And once he did that, there was going to be pretty much no touching him, and my World Wardens would kind of be, or excuse me, my World Guardians would kind of be out there just flapping in the wind. So we end up deciding to do things about things a little bit differently. First things first, I just want to make sure that I start hitting some models with my lighter war beasts and prompting that synergy. So I bring in the northern World White there on the right flank, and you know, we start rolling some dice. He's got star crossed up on his caster. I don't know that I'm in his range right now. It looks like I am, so I boost to hit, because I really want to make sure that I hit these models. Then I go ahead and ride up my synergy prompt there. I think I made a little bit of a play error here. I thought the World Whites had 2 attacks initially, and I think I may have swung twice when I did not have a second attack. So that's my fault. I didn't really think it through. Could have bought an extra attack, and then maybe I bought an extra attack. I can't really remember. But either way, I swung it in, I think, and then I pop my Animus for free because it costs 1, and Bradius makes it 0, and I catch some things on fire, including some of my own stuff. Some of the markers are orange, as you'll see. Some of them are blue, because I didn't have my fire tokens, or couldn't find them for some reason, and I marked them with some disruption tokens from my Sidnar set. Blue fire. Either way, moving on down to the left flank. Again, I'm just trying to proc that synergy. My opponent has annoyingly placed some little gremlin swarms all over the place, and then came to find out that they don't really affect anything that I have. They affect living models. I'm not living. They affect warjats. I'm not warjats. They affect battle engines. I don't have a battle engine, so he kind of felt a little disappointed about that. But you know, his loss is my gain, and I hit another model here, get synergy up to 2, which is really good for me. It means I'm going to hit my attacks a lot easier, and do a little bit more damage, which is always nice. Right now I'm just kind of like thinking about like what all I want to attack with my mid beast as well. Like, I really want to make those turns count and make sure that or make those activations count and make sure that I get some real work done with them. Fury 3 felt like it was going to be kind of weak, and I ended up finding out that that is not true. Fury 3 was just fine on those guys. You can see I'm rolling 4 dice here for all these attacks just because I'm boosting. That way I make sure I hit, because if I don't hit, I'm going to be a very, very sad panda. And not going to be proctoring that synergy. I think I might have made that same mistake that I made before, or I think that I made before where I thought I had 2 attacks, maybe not. Then I might have bought, kind of looks like I bought an attack and boosted, I'm not sure. But if I did, I know now, and I'm going to make sure that I don't make that mistake in the future. That's all. What these games are all about is making sure that we're learning and understanding what we're doing better. That way, we don't do it in the future. Don't do it during tournaments. So I've propped my synergy up to 3 now, and now it's just trying to figure out what am I going to do with my heavies. I have, my heavies in my left flank are kind of jammed up with some dudes. My heavies on my right flank are kind of jammed up with some dudes, and I just want to try to make sure that, if I'm going to use those things for attacks, that I'm really getting, for lack of a better way of putting it, my bang for my buck here. So right now I'm kind of measuring out the Wold Guardian, whether or not he can charge the battle engine. It's always great when you have a huge base model like that you can see through a forest, and over small base dudes, that means that that big old Holton Guardian can possibly go destroy that battle engine. And I'm also looking at possibly teleporting my warden up there to go take on what is a Skin and Moans that's hanging out beside the battle engine. I wanted to make sure that I could actually teleport there and that my beast would still be in my control range. So that would be a huge deal if I teleported that beast and now he's not in control range and I can't do jack squat. That Skin and Moans would quickly turn and annihilate me. So wanted to make sure that that was going to be possible. So here I am, I'm deciding to cast I'm deciding to cast Hunter's Mark onto my opponent's Cage Rager. He had a Torch Token, completely had the opportunity to negate that spell if he wanted to, and decided not to. Not really sure what was going through his mind. I think maybe he was planning on spells being negated towards some of his other dudes, but he let me do it, and at that point I knew that I was probably going to kill that Cage Rager with the other Wold Guardian, which was for me a good trade because he lost out on spell negation and lost out on a heavy, which is a really good beast and offers some great utility to the army. So that was good for me. I end up taking a free strike as I send my first Guardian up to attack his battle engine. At this point I'm at mat 9 because of synergy, and I think I forgot to roll an extra die here, or maybe not. I think I ended up needing a really low number to actually hit him. I hit and I annihilate this thing in like 2 shots. So I decided to look, and I didn't think I was going to be in range of his caster. I let him take a look. It looks like that I am. So I decided to go ahead and buy an attack and boost it to see if I can hit his caster. And look at that, I miss with flying colors. I almost pulled off the wrong die, and thought that I hit his caster, and it was a big no. I bought a second attack to see if I could hit him. I didn't know. I missed. I thought I needed 6s here, and I just fell short on that first attack. So life sucks, but I just killed his battle engine, so life doesn't suck that bad. So here I am. I measured out the distance for my teleport on my Wold Warden. I was able to get behind his skin and moans, which was sweet. That gave me a rotten mat 11. I checked to make sure one more time that I'm still in my caster's control range. Mat 11 is back against defense 13 meant that I needed double ones. Even with Starcrossed up, there was no need to boost to hit, so I'm hitting at a power strength of 21, also because of base 16 plus 3 for synergy and plus 2 for the stone shapers. So that worked out well, and I begin to wail on his skin and moans like there's no tomorrow. I think I'm dice plus 4 on these attacks, so his skin bugs is just annihilated, man. Like, at this point, I'm also starting to feel a little bad because I am just absolutely demolishing everything that I'm running into. I still have those weapon masters there to kind of worry about a little bit, but 2 of them are on fire, so hopefully they should die next turn, and maybe another model can kind of help destroy some more of those. At this point, I decided to go ahead and force my beast to cast a spell. It was Rift. At the unit that's there, because I figured I might as well try to kill 1 or 2 more of those guys, maybe all 3 if I can get a direct hit. I end up missing though, and deviating a little bit, enough to still hit 2 of the models, and I believe that I end up killing both, or maybe just 1 here actually. The first one takes a tough check, and he dies. Second one, tough check, and he dies. So, killed both models, which was really good for me, which means if 1 more of those guys dies from the fire, he's only down to 2 guys left, which is a pretty solid, situation for me over there. So at this point, I feel like I've pretty decisively taken the right flank. I have a gremlin swarm over there and some dudes, but that's pretty much it. And yeah, it's not really something I'm worried about. This turn is feeling like it's taking forever, because it is. I spent a lot of time thinking and deliberating. One of my weaker points in War Machine and Hordes, but yeah, something I've learned to live with. At this point, I decided to hit the Wold Warden and just go ahead and kill some dudes in front of him, kind of freak him up a little bit, and I take my other Wold Warden, I believe, and wait, might have tried to test a spell with that one, I can't remember. Yep, tried to test a spell again, missed again, deviate, and it ends up landing pretty much on top of the Skin and Moans, and we end up hitting the Skin and Moans and I think one of his infantry. At this point, I am measuring out this Wold Guardian's attack on the Cage Rager. I end up taking another free strike, but it's not very much damage. I think it's like 3 points, maybe 1 point, something like that, but nothing too bad. And now that Cage Rager is mine. The Cage Rager's defense is low, and while his armor is a little bit higher, I'm I think a popular strength of 23, which means I'm like dice plus 3 or 4. So pretty much every roll is putting a real hurting on this guy. Here I wanted to beat him back and get rid of one of those road markers, and we end up figuring out that if his model contacts the road marker, it just disappears. And I figured if I beat back a little bit, I can get closer to the Skin and Moans. Once I kill this heavy, I can push some attacks into that Skin and Moans, and maybe do some real damage, knock out an aspect, and force him to play his caster a little bit lower on Fury. Even if I don't have a likelihood of assassinating, just being able to have that chance is always nice. So I beat back the Cage Rager one more time, and I think this attack just obliterates the model, and I end up binding an attack against the the Skin and Moans there, and I hit with a 4 because I'm a 9. Even against his 13, I still hit. So. And I do a fair amount of damage, obviously not enough to kill or anything, but for one swing, I end up lighting up that Skin and Moans. So at this point, I have, I think, just the one Wold Warden left, and at this point, I would like to be able to get into that one Skin and Moans, but I just can't see a way of it happening, so I think I end up just moving him out and casting a spell into his 3 guys there, standing in front of the Skin and Moans. You can see I was doing a little bit of counting there. I was just trying to see where I was in Fury and see kind of like how I wanted to manage it. I hit this time with the Rift and take out that first model. Tough check on the second model, he ends up dying. And tough check on the third model, and he ends up dying. So my opponent has been really sucking on the tough checks this game, which you know, it was always a hard thing, but dice are fiddle, tough jets are what they are, and you know, that's kind of life. So at this point, I think I considered shooting at his skin bones, and then we looked at his defense and the extra die dropped the highest, and it was like super impossible to shoot that thing. So I totally decided not to do that, and I think my caster pretty much ends up doing just about nothing except for, you know, the upkeep of synergy, which played a huge role. So still pretty big. Now, you know what? I'm looking at things right now and the way I moved my caster, and I'm thinking that Skin and Bones is about to come eat my soul because of the way I moved, which wasn't smart. So I consider at this point popping feet and just kind of moving things back a little bit and maybe getting a little bit safer. I consider which directions I can head and how I can do things, and I think about jamming up that Skin and Bones with some World Wardens there, or you know, maybe possibly trying to move everything to the left or to the right. And what I end up deciding is basically that I would go 0 inches forward and 2 inches back, because 2 inches back pretty much moved everything and kept everything in control that mattered. And yeah, see, there's that movement where I think about doing something with my caster, and then I kind of realize how dumb that is. But I kind of moved the caster. I took my hands off the model. If you've ever played chess, there's kind of an unspoken rule. Maybe it's spoken, I don't know. But when you pull your hand off of the piece, you've made the move. So at this point, I have decided that I kind of made the mistake. I need to pay the consequences. If that means me losing the game and dying, then that's it. But I end up using that feat and pulling everything back 2 inches. You see me measuring the distance to that model, that warden up there, because if I move him 2 inches forward, he's going to be out of control, and I don't want that to happen next turn. So I'm kind of worried about that, and just trying to figure out how to move my models. So at this point, my turn is nearing its end. Like I said, I was just trying to figure out how I was going to move my models, and I ended up making the decision to move. Maybe it's 3 inches back, actually. It's looking like it's 3 inches back. I move everything that matters, everything that's capable of moving, and that's important. Keeping the important things inside of my feet, or excuse me, inside of my control range with these movements, which is huge, huge. So I'm good for next turn.
Okay, so turn 3 feeling pretty bad. Well, Will is no stranger to the sacrifice arcana. He's not a fan of it, so he played that turn very well for me not to use it advantageously. He killed my battle engine, which, oh god, just crippled me to a point where I just thought I didn't have much left after that. I mean, skin and bones are good, but what makes them really shine is having those corpse tokens, and there's no way I'm getting them at this point now. I'm checking threat ranges because I know I can get there with flare and such, and I thought assassination was probably my only option at this turn. And I'm really wondering what to do, because I don't win the points game, I don't win the attrition game. He had just a great turn too. I mean, I kind of had to reset here. So I try and trade a couple of heavies. You know, I damage a big guy pretty good, and then I just ignore him. I'm really... Synergy is really crushing me, basically what it is. I really don't know what to do. I didn't want to just call it there, but I'm just kind of playing to trade at this point until I can get my caster close enough to maybe flare his caster and run up there and hit him, but that's in hopes that, you know, I still have heavies at that point. So I mean, having 3 Arcanas is still good, but it's not nearly as good when you have only like 2 War Beasts to heal. If one dies, you heal the other, but he played perfectly into that, and dropping a heavy would be good, but he's not advancing much, so... And if I drop a heavy, you know, I leave myself open for the caster assassination.
Okay, so my opponent just answered. He tried to take 2 heavies. Not a bad plan. But to both of our surprise, one of my heavies survives his Standing Moan's onslaught, the Guardian that was up front. And I lost the Warden. So at this point it looks like I'm going to take the Standing Moans and probably just some support pieces. I don't want to leave that second Standing Moans alive, but I forget to mend my stuff, and my 1 World Guardian is pretty screwed up. He's got 3 boxes left, and obviously, you know, I can't swing if I have. Well, I can swing, but I can't swing well if I only have 1 die on attack rolls. I believe his body was the only thing that was still in. And he's full on fury here, so he's even pretty useless if I can heal him and get everything up. Not totally attached, just probably isn't going to be enough to kill a Standing Moans, especially with dropping the highest die. Just a hard thing to do. So I kind of sit down and think about what I want to do. Again, I want to make sure that I proc synergy if I can, as best I can. So I go for those smaller models, move into that Standing Moan's backwork, which moves him into control. Don't think it ends up mattering. I end up hitting either way. It was a 6, needed a 7. So I get my first synergy proc, which is good. And I think I end up doing far more damage than I should have. But you know, like I said, dice are fickle. Sometimes they're on your side, and sometimes they are not. So, proc that first hit, which is nice. I'm just looking at what other things I can do to go ahead and proc, and I move the other Wold White that's on my right flank up to one of his infantry models. Boost a hit, which procs that synergy, auto tough check, and he mates it, I believe. And then I catch him on fire, because if you don't make your tough checks, you're at least gonna be on fire, because that's obnoxious. How dare he made his tough checks. And then the Wold White on the left flank, boost a hit. Like I said, I just want to make sure that these hits happen. That way I can do what I need to do. Looking back, hindsight, it was probably better to proc my first synergy hit off of the Wold White on the right flank, since he did boost, and guarantee that, well, not guarantee, but pretty much guarantee that hit. He's a 5 versus a 12, so we need a 7 on 4 dice, drop the highest, which is not bad. So I think I just powered up the Warden there, and he is making some attachments at Standing Moans, and we do more than enough to just wipe him off the table, which is good for us. We didn't have to spend a lot of fury. And I just moved that really damaged Wold Warden into my opponent, attempt to hit, and fail miserably. Yeah. That's pretty much all I can say for that. Is I made mistakes there, because I could have healed that beast 1 point for free with the theme. which I should have done. And then maybe I could have moved some stones to kind of support him being healed, but yeah, not a good play on my part. Move the one set of stones up there to Serenity, the Wold Warden, give him a fighting chance. He's going to attack a Krabbit, and I think he actually struggles to hit until he does hit, and then he lays waste to that thing with no problem. So I end up moving one of my stone shapers down to pop a spray, to which my opponent reminds me that the Gremlin Swarm has Annoyance. We check to see if I am within range of check to see if I'm in range of his caster's spell, Starfrost, and would determine that I'm not. He reminds me of Annoyance. I backed the model up a little bit, which he was fine with. My opponent was very gracious there. I end up missing that model anyways, and I end up hitting the other two models, to which they both die. Probably wouldn't have hit both of the other ones if he hadn't let me move my model back, so I appreciate that on his part. The other Wold Guardian decides to attack the other Krabbit that's right in front of him, and misses both of his initials, I believe, despite synergy being all the way up, which sucks. Well, that might have been the Warden earlier. Either way, we killed the Krabbit. Good turn. Stamones died. Beasts died. Good stuff.
Okay, so turn 4 I continue to lose just a ton of models. The trades aren't working for me. At this point I think he can just win off of points. I mean, I'm trying to contest, but he's easily taking out the contesting models. I mean, he kind of ignored the Gremlin Swarm on the left and far right, but also, you know, they're not really threats. I just keep looking for ways to try and get to his caster. The heavy in front of me is pretty crippled, so I'm not worried at this point. But there is 2 heavies to my left that are an issue and could eventually charge and force me to pop my feet. Which at this point, you know, Divergent Path is the only feat that's really necessary. I mean, dropping a heavy is good, but he's got plenty of resources, so trading isn't the best at this point. The 2 heavies in front of me hit so hard that I'm trying to just ignore them. I'm trying to get as close to his caster as possible and stay away from his other heavies, because once my skin and bones is gone, the game's over. I don't have any. The Wanderer is not a damage dealer. He's a help get you there caster, not a will get you there caster.
So at this point, I feel like things are looking really good for me. My opponent has 1 Skin Moans and has his caster left. He's popped none of his Arcana at this point. I've done a really solid job of making sure that he did not get a chance to pop those off, really. But at the same time, I get really excited because I'm getting ready to take out his last beast. And I make a crucial mistake at the beginning of the turn, and I forget to upkeep Synergy, which will play a huge role this turn. So I kind of just look at the Fury that I want to pull off for my caster so that I can kill this Skin and Moans and tie up my opponent from winning the game. I'm super confident that once I take out the Skin and Moans, I should be able to win the game just pretty much by default. His caster can't stop me from storing, and from this point, it's going to be really hard for him to pull out a win with all of his stuff dead. I'd have to really make a mistake and pop his Arcana in such a way that he's going to be able to kill my caster or something. So, I'm doing all of my planning here, pulling Fury the way I think I should, looking at what models can remove Fury from what so that I can kill this thing, and you know, I'm even planning on committing my caster to killing this this heavy beast. Because why not? Because Bradidus is benefiting from, should benefit from Synergy too, and all the while I'm forgetting that, you know, I did not upkeep Synergy like an idiot. Not to mention, you know, Synergy has really been my my counter to Starcross that my opponent has had up all game. So, and that really sucks. Really sucks. So at this point, the Wayfarer goes, and he's gonna cast Hunter's Mark onto the War Beast there. His Skin and Moans that my other guys get plus 2 inches and can charge them for free, which is important because some of them are full up on focus. So them being able to charge for free is huge. And then pretty soon here is when I realized that I did not upkeep Synergy. So I charged this model in to proc Synergy. Out that Synergy does not proc. I do a couple points of damage, I think, to his beast here, but not much. And this is where I'm starting to realize that I've made a mistake, and in order to get Synergy up, I'm gonna have to move my caster and activate him first, which I didn't want to do. I wanted to activate the light beasts, proc Synergy up to 3, and then move my caster in and kind of finish the job. But you know, you play, you learn, you win or you lose. I learned a good lesson here, that always make sure that you upkeep Synergy if you're planning on killing things with Bradidus. So I end up moving my Guardian into a road marker just to kind of destroy it. This point that actually ends up hindering me later on, I think. Same as the way I've moved that light wold white. So I've moved my attacks are in, and I'm starting my attacks against his beast with synergy up at 0, and I am struggling to hit. I think I roll multiple times. I need a 7 to hit, and I think I roll 6 multiple times, or just below that 7. So I really made a mistake here. And at this point, I'm realizing that I am really at a disadvantage if I cannot get rid of this Cinnamons, to the point where his Cinnamons is probably just going to turn around and kill me if I do not kill his Cinnamons. So I start trying to figure out anything and everything that I can do to kill that Cinnamons, because we just cannot afford to leave him alive. So we pull one Fury off of the Warden, not Warden, excuse me. The Wold Watcher. I figure he's probably got a better chance of hitting and doing damage to my enemy's heavy. So we pull one off of him. So I do some measuring. I want to charge his heavy. It looked like it was 3 inches to me. There ends up being some contention here about whether or not it was 3 inches. But we end up coming to the conclusion that it was 3 inches. Next time I will probably measure a little bit more accurately for sure. That way there can't be any real question. We try to bring it back, but at this point I realize that there's no accurate way to measure for sure. And I asked my opponent if he would like me to re-roll, to which he graciously says no. He lets it stand. So I always enjoy playing with my partner Charlie. He's a great guy, great sport, and hopefully in the future we can avoid those situations. So I'll go ahead and move one of my stone shapers and try to spray, because I have not killed his Warbeast yet, and at this point I'm realizing it's probably not going to happen, and I'm just trying to figure out anything and everything that I can get over to his stuff so that I can, or get over to that beast so I can try and kill it. I ironically end up damaging one of my own guys here after doing no damage to his beast. On the bright side, I believe synergy is up to 3. I end up running my Wold Guardian there just to engage his caster, to which I think he planned on possibly dropping a heavy, which is one of his Arcana, but I think he decides not to, because I have not activated the Wold Guardian at this point. That, and I think he plans on just turning that Cinnamons around and breaking face, which always sucks. So I moved the last Wold Guardian that I have to activate into spell range of the model, and I hope to God that I can hit him with a spell. I try to hit him with Rift because that's the more powerful of the two. And I miss. It deviates, and again it hits my own guys. It ends up doing no damage, but so miss him entirely and end up hitting my own stuff. So at that point I pass turn.
So at this point, I'm pretty much in shock that he didn't kill my Skin and Bones. I know that that was kind of his last line of defenses, and in hindsight we talked about it, and he should have just went for the points. He had this game, and you know, but I guess he thought he could kill the Skin and Bones, which wasn't, you know, outrageous with synergy at 3. I moved my caster with, you know, the Wandering Path, put it over, flare his caster, -2 defense, and then I just turned the Skin and Bones around and just go to town on his caster. I mean, it was a very lucky win. I think I was out of the game after his turn 2. Especially if we, you know, if we play a clock game and he plays the game for points, he definitely wins. He's out attritioned me. I've gotten lucky off of some of his 2-hit rolls, and it was a good game, but it also shows, you know, just how strong those Skin and Bones are. I guess it even only have 1 corpse token, so. Actually, no, I did. I killed one of his little dudes to give him an extra corpse token, and then went to town on his caster. I think it took about 3 hits, and then caster was down. I also spent 2 fury to heal his mind, because his mind was out. So he was very close to killing me, very close. It was a good game though.